Hello, hello. Welcome. My name is Kwabena. I want to share with you today from self-employment to building a business that is able to employ others, from creating job that you are the employee to a business that you have to work with others and pay them salary, be in charge, and provide the leadership, get the results, trust them, develop them. What it takes to do that. So welcome. You have to share. Please share this channel with others. Subscribe if you have not subscribed, and make a comment, good or bad. So today we want to share business. This channel is about business. It's about personal development, about financial knowledge. It's about African history, being able to build our identity. So today we want to talk about purely, entrepreneurship, business. If you look around our country, Ghana, depending on the industry, largely, one of the factors that, main factors, I think, that the factors that have prevented a lot of people from owning business or growing the business is our inability to grow the business beyond ourselves. And being able to grow the business beyond ourselves requires that we start to develop a business that employs other people. And most often when you talk to people, they find it very difficult to trust people or to work with other people, especially in businesses where people have direct access to money and people have direct access to the product. So for instance, if you go to a lot of our major markets, you will see very huge retailers, very huge wholesalers, who largely depend on themselves, depend on very few inexperienced people, and depend on family members solely. If they are going anywhere, sometimes they will close the business, because if they have to travel outside the country, sometimes they close the business, because the business, what they have created, is for themselves. And it's good. A lot of them control huge money, but they spend all their time, all their expertise, and they have no breathing space at all in terms of free time to take care of themselves. So sometimes what we see is that when the business is growing, when they are growing, maybe they do the business for 30 years, 40 years, but when they get to a state where they can't exert any more energy, you see that the business starts to come down, because there was something that they didn't focus on, which was the ability to develop a business and to develop the people who will be able to work in the business. So you have to look at how we do this. It's very tough. And the other day I just looked at a caption where a gentleman was saying that two things that forced his bank to collapse. And he said that one was the fact that people took the loan and they did not pay back. And the other thing was that a lot of the staff were not honest with the things that they were mandated to do. And it's not only with the bank, it's with every industry that we have in the country. So whether you have a shop, whether you have a construction company, whether you have a consultancy firm, whatever that you do. A lot of the times when you have to bring in other people, there are things that we have to get in place, or the business will collapse in no time. And I think that frustrates a lot of people. Most people get frustrated when they cannot depend on others. Some of them may not be that they are even dishonest. It's just the fact that their work ethics is not up to the stage or the level that we want, and it's frustrating. So how do we get them? How do we define things in ourselves? Because there's a price to pay. If you want to be the one in charge, and most technical people, most educated people, most people will start businesses, ask themselves, and then maybe when the business expands, if they have been able to condition their mind that I have to employ people and I have to empower them, they will find a way of building a business that will get others on board. Most people don't get that psyche. So they are the people who will be telling you that it's very tough to employ others. It's very tough to depend on others. You can't trust nobody. Those kind of thinking is also, if you are in that and you are in business, it becomes very difficult for you to grow the business to a level where everything does not center on you. So today I want to talk about being self-employed and building a business that employs others. And depending on the level of the business, depending on how you start this business. Okay, thank you, Richard. Thank you, Chairman. Depending on the level that you start the business, you would have to know that if you are going to build a business, most businesses, you would need people to work with you. Most businesses, especially what we call the traditional businesses, the businesses that you have to be physically there, the businesses that not so much over the internet, and majority of the businesses are in that category. Even if you are going to build business over the internet, one way or the other, you will still have to work with people. Everything will not depend on you that much, and therefore your greatest skill, I think, apart from some few others, is your ability to be able to work, to spot the right people to develop and to work with you, and to be able to develop them, and to be able to have the heart to be patient for their development, and to have even trust for the people, in as much as a lot of them will let you down, in as much as a lot of them will do all the things that you would not want anybody to do to you, but you should be ready for them. And so how do you go to that? I think that there should be a mental shift as to, if I'm building a business, if the business is going to grow and multiply and spread around, it is not going to take only myself. I will need other people to work with me. You have to settle that. So now, how do I get other people to work with me? In spite of all the stories that you will hear, in spite of all the painful stories that you will hear, how do I still look at the culture, look at the people, employ, develop, and let them be in charge? How am I going to do that? If you're not able to do that, then you have the business by yourself. You run everything. Maybe that's what you want, then there is no problem. But you see, the other thing is that there are a lot of other people who are building businesses in our country who may not necessarily be from Ghana, and they are trying to build big businesses, and they employ. It has to be that Ghanaians would have the kind of thinking that will go into the retail shops, will go into the wholesale shop business, it will go into the banking industry, it will go to any aspect, every aspect of our economy. And you can't play big if the business is only you, which means that we need to have a lot of our people to start thinking that we have to build businesses not at just one place, but everywhere. And that will mean that we need to work with people and we need to trust people. So you have to shift your mind that if I'm going to do this and do it well, if I'm going to employ 1, 2, 3,000 people, then I have to have that frame of thinking. So you need the talents of others, you need the time of others to work. Everything cannot be you. If it's only you and you work 12 hours, it's only you 12 hours. If you have 10 people and everybody works 12 hours, then it's 10 times 12. If everybody works, let's say 5 hours, then it's, and you have 100 people. So your growth is going to come from the fact that you are going to get a lot of people trade their time and their expertise and their intelligence to work with you. And if you cannot think like that, you are not going to have a big business. But we need a lot of people to have big businesses. That's why you will see that this company is a gaining company. This company is a gaining company. We need a lot of people to think like that. We have to think, just ourselves, And so what we have to do is to develop a business culture that is built on strong values. A business culture that is built on strong values. We need that. Values, solid values. That means that when you employ people from our culture, what are the things that you think? What are the things that you hear? What are the things that you think an employee will do? You have to understand that. You hear a lot of things. Oh, I left the shop with the person and they sold it and they took the money. You hear those things. They were not opening the shop on time. They were sharing their product with their friends. You will hear those things. You will hear those things. How are you going to handle them? People will even ask you, your business, I went there, you're not there. When are you there? Because most people, for them to track somebody, then they will rather say that I will handle the business at the small level. We are saying that now is a problem for us. It's a liability. Where most of our business leaders, especially those who hustle through, because sometimes if you're going to depend on the revenue from your business, realistic revenue from your business, where there is no other support anywhere, where you are doing a lot of things within the law and you're doing a lot of things with your values intact, which means you have got to pay a lot of attention. Some people will build businesses and employ a lot of people, but they know that the figures are massaged. The revenue is not realistic. They have all kind of things that you're doing to get a lot of money, especially those who work with the government. But if you don't have that kind of access, which you may not even need, and you want to build with the level of your expertise, with your own values intact, with some level of ethics, if you want to build from there, then you have got to master some of these things. And one of it is, how do I build a business where I can leave the business for others to run? I can let some people handle other positions and be able to get them to a state where they will work with their own. They don't have to be, you don't have to always be checking. How do you get them to be responsible to themselves first and to you and to the company? How do you? Because majority of the people, when you employ them, I'm sorry to say, everyone wants to do well. So how many people would have access to less than 100,000 a month and will be straightforward to say that they sold 100,000 and I'm declaring it? And they are very happy with the salary that you pay them. That is a tough call. And no matter the systems that you have in place, the greatest system that you have is the quality of character of the people that you work with. That is the greatest system. That's the most secure system that you have. And yet that is very difficult to have, especially when they come from the culture like that. And that's what a lot of people give up when they face these things in reality. When you open a business and they see that the people that they trusted were not being truthful to them. When you find that out, what is your first reaction? You say that, no, I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm going to close everything. I'm stopping the business. Should those things frustrate you? I think that you should be forewarned first. You should be forearmed first. That when you meet these things, and what you are going to meet, people that you put in key position in your business, if you have not been very deliberate about talking about people being honest with you, being straightforward with you, and building that in the culture of business, if you have not been straightforward, even if you are straightforward, you can give yourself a lot of percentages of, you have to give yourself a huge percentage of error. What I mean by that is that if you're able to get, let's say, 10 people work with you, if you're able to get 3 of them straightforward and how working with you, you have done a great job. Expect that majority of them would grow, to be honest. So those things will not shock you. Let's say you have a very big farm, you have a farm manager and other people work with them. They bring you the number of hours that they work within a month for you to pay them. Now, majority of the people, when you put them in charge like that, they have 100 workers. They would want to build a house right away. So they will tell you they have 120 workers. When you find out, what will be your reaction? Well, let's say you have a construction site. Majority of us will not have so much accurate systems to cross-check. Even the systems, they beat them. So how do you know that the engineer on site is being straightforward with you in terms of labor and is being straightforward with you in terms of your materials? How do you? And if as you find that they're not being straightforward, what will be your reaction? Because you cannot do everything alone. You need to work with people. You know, so that is very key. The quality of people that you work with, the team that you work with, those who decide whether you'll be able to build a business beyond yourself or you call in and build everything by yourself. The quality of the people that you work with, the quality of the people that you'll be able to develop, work in whatever business that you have, because those decide the success of the business or the fast collapse of that business. Ask anybody who has tried to build a business in our country. One of the major reasons why most people will quit on their business, even though the business started to do well, is because of the character of the people they had working with them, where they will give you all kind of figures. These are not so sweet words, but if you want to build business, we must be aware of this. They are not sweet words at all. They are words that I wish I would never share this. But you can see that every now and then a lot of business people become frustrated. A lot of people give up. A lot of people become so much negative and pessimistic towards the culture, towards the people, so that I have nobody to trust, you know, because they are trying to take money from me. We have to understand this. You know, one of the things that you must have is that Ghanaians are very hardworking people. But at the same time, we have to up the values, especially the little values. We have to up them, because I think that these are the things that are not making our people to build, great businesses as we want them to build. Because a lot of the times you give the project to somebody, you trust, you have worked with them. The person starts to work, they have now been in charge of everything. The next day you see, they are building a house. And the next day you see, they are changing their car. The next day you see, they are changing the school of their children. And how much is the salary? You know, they're doing a lot of great things. They put anybody in charge of any institution. The next day you see, it has become very rich. And meanwhile, the business owner probably is using loans. So the next time you see the business that collapse, everybody's moved on. And then the business owner is saddled with a lot of debt. And then they end up becoming so bitter that they give up. They don't want to do anything anymore. And that's why sometimes you go to a lot of our marketplaces. They don't trust anybody. They don't have an accountant. They don't have anybody. They just do everything by themselves. And the woman is around 60 years. And she's done that for the last 30 years. Why? Because maybe they try to employ people. Maybe they try to employ an accountant and they pay fast. Because a lot of our people are in haste to get money. Our understanding of money would have to be up a little. That to get money, you have to be honest, you have to have the values in that, you have to be straightforward. And that if you're working with another company, if you're working with somebody, the least you can do is to protect the company from collapsing. It is very difficult for you to work anywhere and expect the business to grow when you're the one stealing from the business. This kind of thinking, we have to get it through the head of our people. Because other than that, we are not going to build a lot of businesses which can employ a lot of people. Because you put anybody in charge, and the next thing you see is that they're looking for money. So that is something. We have to be able to build a business to a stage where we don't have to do everything. We have to rely on others. And we need them to be very straightforward. We need them to be very honest. And that is very difficult, I dare say. Where they are very loyal, they will defend the business. Where they work together, where they are not trying to be sneaky, where they are very grateful for the work that they have. These kind of attitudes, this kind of work ethics, we must have in the majority of our people. And so if you're going to build a business beyond yourself, then you must inculcate this in the culture of your business. You know, you must constantly be talking of that. If you're able to get 10%, you have really done well. That's my assumption. If you pick 100 people and you're able to develop them, and the next year or two, you have 10% of them practicing these things, the tendency of you having a successful business is very great. If you're able to do that, where you have 100, because there will be a lot of disappointment. Don't forget that, and you have a lot to learn when it comes to these things. You know, so people have wrong understanding of money. People love money more than their values. Don't forget that. Yeah, and so most of our countries, it's very difficult. That's why most people have a lot of break cross systems in check, but even that, they still beat them. So when you process, don't be shocked. Don't be shocked. You still have to go through that phase. You still have to be resolved. You still have to be. You have to resolve that I am going to build a business beyond myself. I will need people, and I'm going to go through what I have to go through to be able to get this kind of people. Because you're looking for this kind of people, and you must have them. And it's not that they are not there; they are there. They probably are already in your business, but you also must have a deliberate or a program to develop such things in them, and you have to be ready for any shock. So you have to go beyond just working with family, people, and friends. If you build a business, you must go beyond just employing family, people, and friends. You must go outside employ. And yet, many business people will say that no, I don't trust anybody, so it has to be me and my friends and my family people. That's why sometimes growing becomes very difficult. You know, so what, and the thing is that you are also developing that skill. Because if you don't have the people skill, you cannot grow the business. The people skill, to be able to grow people to work with you, where they can defend you. They will do things. Sometimes they'll even work more than you. And they'll be straightforward with you. And no matter how much you give them, they will declare those. You know, and they're not trying to play fast. They're not trying to put their interests before the business. You have to know those things. Your ability to instill this in your team will give you rest. If you don't do this and the business starts to grow, it will take toll, or it will take, what is the English word? It will drain you. That's why sometimes you see the person had a very good business. It was doing well. And then the next day, see that they are so much exhausted. Now the business has become a belly. When they get up and they are even going to the shop or to the office, they find it so difficult. Why? Because they use all their time, all their energy alone without getting others involved. Business is tough. You're dealing with so many things at the same time. So if you don't develop a business where you can offload all some of the pressures to others, and because of maybe you're so much very cynical and don't believe in anybody, it will take the effect on you. No matter how much money you get, it will be to a point where the money will not be anything. Because if you get into health crisis, what is money? You know, so for me, if I were to be in a business and let's say I have to be there to sell 20 myself, if I have to employ for somebody to sell 18, I will employ. So that I can have time for other things, because really you cannot grow the business beyond yourself if you are the one doing everything. So you have to learn how do I still pick people with the same stories, because you hear so many stories. I can tell you that. There's so many stories. So many stories that sometimes you want to just say, why am I even worrying myself? Because the very people that you're giving jobs to, the very people who will come and they look like they have nothing, and now you position them somewhere and you hear the stories, the things that they're doing, you'll be amazed. But sometimes you can't blame them. Sometimes it's what the family is telling them. Sometimes it's what their friends are telling them. Sometimes it's because they don't have strong argument, you know. in terms of the things that they tell themselves. Because let's face it, if anybody meets money, if money is with you, there is a force. How many people can tell themselves that this money is not mine, so I'm not touching it? Very few people have that strong argument to still have their values intact and to make right decisions with money. Very few people. That's why most people give in to the pressure of money, especially when they are put in a position where they see a lot of money. That's why you see a lot of officials, they say that this one is corrupt, this one has done this. It's because they have not built their own personal values. They never prepared for that. So now they are in that position. They are not, the money is so powerful. But if you have not developed your things, now you will see that everybody's bringing you money. You make all kind of decisions. Now you see money. Maybe before what to even use to buy kenke was a problem. Maybe you were just a hustler, you were playing with your friends. You were just going through a lot of things. And now they have opened a whole office for you. They pay you, and you see a lot of money. You are the one receiving the money, taking it to the bank. If you're not solid, if you have not put your values in place, you will change. And that's what happens to a lot of the people that we employ. They change, they switch. Somebody who was not having 20 cities, now this person is receiving 20,000 a day. If that person is not being taught well, that person will do dangerous things. And eventually, those decisions that they take in terms of the money of the business, in terms of the product, somebody will say, but you have to put systems in place. Yes, I agree. You must have strong systems to check. But I can tell you, the Bank of Ghana, they beat them. That's how companies that come to our country that think that they can rely solely on systems end up going through a lot of damages because they underestimate the intelligence of the people. So never, I believe in the systems. But I think the strongest system that you have is the value system of the people that you build, the value system of the business that you have built, the culture that you have built, where people will can say that I got this job, this is what I'm told to do, I do it and I do it well. I'm saying that if you get 10%, your business will be successful. It won't collapse. But don't be shocked if you get 90% of them trying to do the otherwise. So my name is Kwabena. Share the channel with your friends. We are talking about how I move myself. Let's have been able to hustle for 5 years. I've created a business for myself. I'm the one in charge of the business. I do everything all by myself. Now, how do I move that business to a stage where I'm able to employ people, quality people, who can make right decisions, people that I can trust to handle a lot of key positions in the business? How do I get that? How do I get that? So if you are not able to do that, it will be very tough for you to build a business in our country. And that frustrates almost everybody, those of us here and those of us who will come to build a business. So never be shocked. You should have to understand the culture. You are going to go through a lot. You'll be disappointed severally. People will try to play fast. Some people will think that you are not wise. You give them money and they will try to tell you all kind of stories. This is level. The fact is that they are not wicked. They will kill you. But they have to be taught how to be disciplined with little things and how to cherish the trust that people give to them. We have to tell the people. We have to teach them. And if you're not able to do that, then you will not be able to build a business beyond yourself. If you're not able to build a business beyond yourself, then you have to trade your time. You have to trade your time, you have to trade everything to get the business to be profitable. And eventually, you will lose everything because you can build everything all by yourself. So your skill to be able to build the structures that others can take over from you is so key. So I'm sharing with you how do I get from being self-employed to building a business that employs others. And I'm saying that it has to be something that you have to know that you cannot do everything by yourself. And you have to build a business that that is able to employ people. That's why we are also going to build businesses, because look at the big businesses in any country. Look at the big businesses, those who have been able to build big businesses beyond themselves. Look, the only reason they are big businesses is because they have others working in those businesses, which means that the main person who started the business is not the only person working there. You cannot grow a business where you are the only employee. And you cannot, and the best way to leverage all the pain, all the struggles, all the things that you have been through trying to build a business, the best way to leverage it is when you're able to position the business where it is able to multiply, able to grow, able to do more. And one of the best ways to do more is to get other hands to support you, others to do more, others to take other activities from you, where you can use your head to make critical decisions for the business to go forward. Now, if you have done that for 10 years and you're still the only person in the business, if that is all that you want, then that is okay. But I think that we need people to build businesses beyond themselves, beyond ourselves, beyond ourselves. And that will mean that we need a lot of our people to learn how to build business and employ people. And I'm saying that one of the things that will deter people from employing others is the fact that they don't trust anybody. They don't trust anybody in terms of money, in terms of material. They don't trust anybody. They don't want to give any position to anybody. And that becomes the trouble. It becomes something that will be very difficult. If you're like that and you're not able to push beyond that, some people don't want to lose anything. So they have to do everything all by themselves. And if you don't want to lose anything, then you cannot practice where you're able to. And sometimes you employ one person and they come and they disappoint you. You should not say that because I employed that person and it didn't work, I'm not going to employ them. It's your skill to make sure that you keep employing until you get it right, because that decides the success of your business. However that you're going to do it, all the structures that you're going to use to get it there, systems that you can put in place to make sure that you're able to get people, you're able to employ people to work with you. And if you have to fail 1,000 times to get it right, you've got to do that. But then you can't grow a business beyond yourself. And eventually, if you grow old and somebody else has to take over the business, you still have to employ somebody, isn't it? So it's something that you cannot run away from if you want, unless your main reason, unless your main reason is to, just some people want to get a job and then they go to a private application to get a job. Some people get a job by building a business and employ themselves. If you are that kind that you just create a business to get yourself a place, very happy, but I don't think we need a lot of our people to be very happy with little. As Africans, no, we don't need a lot of people to be very happy with little. We need a lot of our people to be very happy, giving opportunities, creating employment. We should be the ones owning the shops in our country, building the biggest construction company, the real estate company, our banks. We should be the ones in charge of the oil, in charge of the gold. We should be the ones, running the big pharmaceutical companies, the big food processing companies in our country. We should be the ones. And if you think small, then we can do that. So that's the problem. One of the things that will make us not to become big is because a lot of our business people think small. And one of the things that show that think small is that you don't want anybody, you don't want to worry yourself with employing anybody. You don't want any case at all. Because the moment you employ, it comes with other problems. Even though that is the way to grow, where you put structures in place, but it also comes with a lot of challenges, a lot of problems. Business is not that difficult if it were not the human beings. So the human beings come in, they are the asset and they are also the liability. They can bring the business down quickly and they can also grow the business that fast. So how do we do that? Now becomes the skill that we all have to acquire. And I'm saying that it translates from the way you think and to the way you implement some of these things. Where you look, when you're employing, what do you look for? So you should not use the disappointment to say that I'm not going to do this. And most people dwell so much on the pain and the disappointment. A lot of people do that. They dwell so much on who ran away with their money, who cheated them, who they trusted so much that ran away. who eventually ended up, taking them to organizations and, to the radio station or to court, defaming them. Sometimes they get to see things that you ordinarily, you not want anybody to see. You invite so much to them, they got so close, they saw a lot, and then, but sometimes maybe you have to build those gradually. So you employ somebody today, they don't have to see everything today. You have to face them, stage them, so that some people will have to see something. So not everybody will have to see something. So until they have proven that they can handle some of the things that you don't want anybody to see, because every business, there are things that will have to be seen by people that are trustworthy. And so there are skills that they use so that at least you're able to build a business that you can count on others to play a major role, because we need that. We need that. I think that where people are so much selfish in a way, where people are so much self-focused and very risk averse and don't want letter, where people are very happy with the letter, you can't be happy with the letter when others need help. You cannot be happy with employing just one person to say, I'm very happy, okay, I don't want trouble. You cannot think like that. We need people to become giants. We need people to become big. And if you've been able to test the business and it's working, the next thing is that, how do I open the business up? And I'm saying that if you're not able to handle the people factor, it will be very difficult for you to open the business up. Because let's say you want to open a branch in Sunyai or in Bechem or in wherever, let's say in Sandema. How do you go there? You are here in Accra, or you're here in Kumasi, you're here somewhere, and you want to open a branch. You need human beings with there. And you have to count on them to be trustworthy. And that's where the problem is. So how do you go through that and become successful? How do you go through that and become successful? So there are a lot of cultural biases that you have to break. And there's a lot that you have to teach yourself as the business owner, that you have to be open. And you have to understand what you have to even focus on for these things to be done well. So if you go to some of these businesses where the owner is there 24 hours, and they're getting old, and now they're scared, they panic, because there's nobody to trust anymore, because the time that they should have developed somebody, they didn't. And that, I'm saying, that is something that we have to break. Would you be disappointed? Several times. Will people steal from you? Yes. Will people run away with some of the things? Yes. Will you find some things that will shock you? Absolutely. What do you have to stay with? Because that's the lifeline to growth. So you have to up your game to a level where these things will not shock you, where you are ready for them, where you are ready for this, where you are also learning. So my name is Kwabena. I'm talking about how do you move from being self-employed to building a business that can employ others, because that is where growth will come from. That's where you can explode. That's why you can leverage all the pain and the difficulties and all the losses. You go through when you're building the business, you go through all the not so palatable stage. And sometimes you can be there for years, and you gain so much experience. The only way you can take advantage of all those periods, is when you're able to build a business and grow it. Because one of the things that will minimize the pain and the bitterness and the disappointment and the betrayals from building business is when you're able to leverage to grow. Once the business grows, there are a lot of pain that you will not fight over, you not brood over. Why? Because now you can see the fruit of your labor. And to see the fruit of your labor means that you have to grow. And to grow means that it cannot be only you. You need others to be on board. And that will mean that you have to be open-minded. And you have to have the skill to lead others. And that's where the problem is. You have to have the skill to be able to train people on values, on work ethics, on being sincere, on being straightforward, on being hardworking, and defending the company, being grateful, for having the opportunity to work with the business. We need that. How do you build that is a problem. And sometimes I think that one of the major hindrances is because we are not even aware that it's doable. So most people would want people just come from their homes, come to work with you, and they just perform the magic. It doesn't happen like that. You must train the people. You must tell them what you want, what you don't want. You must tell them how you work with this particular company. Sometimes they have even worked somewhere. Sometimes they even work somewhere, but your culture, your business culture is so different from the other place that they work. What are the things that you stand for? What are the things that they think they have to know in working with you? If you're not strong with those things, if you don't let those things be known, and if it's not repeatedly taught, it will be very difficult for you to have a strong team, a strong culture that you can rely on. Yes, Lisa, my sister. So if you don't have that, then it will be very difficult for you to have a strong business that is able to perform in your absence, where everything does not revolve around you, where you're able to have different outlets where people will be in charge making some decisions. You don't pull out totally, but at least some things they can handle. Where somebody is in charge of something, and you will be sure that at least when you go, you will get about 60-70% as you had discussed done, where you are not sure. And I'm saying that you have to do that intentionally, because the human factor is the main reason, the reason people are not able to build business beyond themselves. The human factor, where they are letting some power go, where somebody is going, somebody is not in charge of something. A lot of people are very uncomfortable with that, especially with money. And if you don't position yourself to be comfortable with that, then you have to just accept it as it is, that I'm building a business, I'm working there alone, I'll get all the money that I want to get, and then eventually I will trade my health. And if I'm getting old, the business has no future. That is the path that you want to take. That's okay. But I'm saying that we need people to think beyond that. Where will you be able to build the Melcoms? You'll be able to build the Shoprites. You'll be able to build the MTNs. You'll be able to build a lot of these other businesses. And we're saying that if you're not, if we don't position ourselves that way, it will be very difficult. We will still have the small businesses. And having a small business is a mental disposition. It's the way we think. Having a business that you are just alone. Just alone. You go there yourself, locate, you sleep there yourself, you go to the bank there yourself, everything, you're very comfortable with the little. So let's say you're making 10,000, you're very happy with that. We don't need a lot of our people to be happy with that. We need a lot of our people to be happy with 10 million, 200 million, 300 million. We have to do that, because if the concept is working, we must blow the concept up. And that will mean that we have to get people still so that we can pinpoint, because so many people need place to work. The problem is that when they come, they must come with good character. And if they don't come with good character, you must recondition them. And I'm saying that a lot of them, you'll have trouble trying to trust them. But it is doable. You can develop them. So yes, Mercy Johnson, yes, yeah. You're trying to share on not just starting a business all by yourself, and doing it all throughout. You're saying that when you have done all the years, some of us would do the all by ourselves business for years, 5 years, 10 years. But we are saying that business is not designed to be like that. You must design a business where you get to a point where you employ people. And that is very difficult for a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business people. Once they start, it's so difficult. So you go to Makola, you go to a Doom, you have the women, they count a lot of money, but they are the only employee. And the son or the daughter, that's all. They don't bring anybody else close. And yet those people could build multiple outlets because the concept is working. They have studied it. They know the logistics. They know everything about the business. They know how to sell the product. They know the price. They know everything. But they have done it for 30 years and it's still one place. Because one factor they don't have is the ability to pick the right people, develop them, and let them be in positions and work. Sometimes you can blame them because they work with people who hugely disappointed. They were not truthful to them. And I'm saying that in your bid to develop that skill, you will experience a lot of disappointment, And I'm not sure that you ever stay, you outgrow the disappointment. You'll be able to minimize them, but you not outgrow them. You know, so people that you so much trust, they were in charge of something, and you know, you hear all kind of stories where they were trying to beat the system. They were trying to outsmart you. People that you trust, sometimes those are the ones that will disappoint you. You know. Any suggestion for establishing a network of continental like-minded Ghanaians in the States before coming to Ghana? I'm sure. Maybe send me WhatsApp or send me email. Let's see if I can. The people I know, maybe I can send you some of them their contact. You know, the thing about it is that a lot of the Ghanaians, they are not looking to come to Ghana to settle. They enjoy America. But you know, you will get some people. You will get some people who you can connect and who makes. I remember there's this woman who has that kind of mindset. So I'm sure we can connect that. So please send me. You go to the YouTube page about us. You see my number there. You can send me WhatsApp, Mary, or you can send me email as well. So today we are talking about that. We are talking about the fact that we should be able to grow our business. The business is working. You started the business is working fantastically. You know, now you are seeing revenue, and now you want to try to, you know, my friend who has a business, a agro processing plant, he employs somebody, and the boy came to learn everything, and then they started to screw the system. You know, they ran away, and they set up another company to compete with him. I told him that yes, it's okay. Don't give up. Go and employ another one. It's okay. You know, go and employ another person because it's a skill that you need. The strength of your business is the quality of the people you work with, the quality of the team that you have. So let's say you want to develop you want to take a major decision. The quality of that decision that you're going to take will depend on the quality of the people who discuss that idea. So if everything is just you, the quality of your decisions will not be, you know, businesses thrive and ride on the key decisions that are made by the heads of the business. You know, the people who are leading, the people who discuss the management, the leaders of the business, the quality of their decisions are the ones leading the success, you know, or the failure of the business. So if you get quality, which means that you must develop a skill, you get to work with quality people. You know, and you can't get quality people when you want to tell them what they want to do, what they have to do. You can't get quality people when you don't trust them. You can't get quality people when, you know, you're very much unsure of yourself. You can't get quality people to work with you when you talk to them like children. You can't get quality people to work with you when you want to take advantage of people, which means a lot will also depend on you as an entrepreneur, where you are looking for quality. You can look for quality when you yourself also don't stand for quality. You know, so a lot of the things that if you're cheap and you look for all the basic things, and cheap people, you just give them something small and you say that's what the business can do, but they know that you have land cruiser, you have all these houses, and you're paying them penny, and even the penny you're not paying them well, you just break a little, break there a little. That will reflect on the business. Your business will not do it, because then you cheat people, you take advantage of people. You cannot do that and build huge businesses and think that you can stay somewhere and the business will run. Eventually, a lot of things will crumble on you. And you can't use the excuse that I try to, you know, put somebody in charge and that person screwed me. They screw you, you have to get another one. But you have to know that if you treat people well, eventually they will try. Not everybody, but even if you get 10% right, it's so likely that your business will succeed. You know, it's so likely that your business will succeed. So my name is Kwabena. I'm sharing how do you move from just being self-employed, because most people will be self-employed. Engineers, doctors, lawyers, you know, he has a law firm, he's all by himself. He picks just one cleaner. Or he has a big, you know, some people, the figures that they make, huge, but it's all them. They don't try to bring anybody to develop anybody. Success in life is being able to develop. So, and you should not be shocked. Some people will say that, how about if I train them and they don't stay? Don't worry about that. When you train them and they stay, you have trained yourself. Anytime you're training somebody, you're training yourself. You're becoming better. Then next time you will see who to pick, because it's skill development. So don't worry about it. When I give them opportunity, they will take advantage. Don't worry, let people take advantage of you. After all, I'm sure you also took advantage of somebody. So don't worry about that. Be open-minded, and start to believe that this is it. I have to build a team. I have to build a team that the business can depend on. If you're not able to build a team, you will get exhausted. So my name is Kwabena. I'm talking about this. I'm talking about the fact that majority of us, when the business is even working, we still find it very difficult to employ because you have not solved that. We have not solved that in ourselves. So somebody is there, you don't trust them. Somebody is there. The thing is that when you find out that the people are misbehaving, train them, and if you train them and they don't pick, then you have to let them go. You have to, but at least be open-minded that I need to work with people. So whatever business that you have, whether it's construction, whether it's retail, whether it's IT firm, whatever that you have, if you employ 10 people and you get one to be straightforward and one that can work as you, and sometimes even better than you have done well. So then you go to 20. If you get 2, you're going. If you go 30 and you get 3, you're going. And with just those dependable, few people, very dependable, you'll be able to build much without killing yourself. Sometimes some people want to grow and they kill themselves. And then they have to work every time, they're everywhere. You will break down and then there's no business. So you need people. People are looking for opportunities. But you're also looking for somebody you can trust, somebody you can depend on, somebody with good work ethics. So there has to be a balance. How do you do that? That's a training for you. That's the school that you have to go. So that's the school that you have to go. So when you come to start business and you meet a lot of these challenges from your employees, don't worry too much. Don't cry. Don't kill yourself. Don't shut the business down. Re-strategize. Understand the culture. Study how the people think. How do I manage them? Study how I approach these people. Study how you can pick somebody and develop them. And when you are moving around, you are looking for talent. You're looking for people with character as well. What are the things that you have to look for when you want to employ somebody? What are the things that you have to look for? You have to look for some things. And those things will help you to reduce the damages that they will eventually cause. So if you just have the philosophy that you pick anybody, then your maintenance level, your maintenance bill will be so high, But there are things that you look for. So look for people who are a bit stable in mind. Look for that. And look for people who have worked, have fed themselves, have gone through some things themselves. If you're in Accra, look for that. And if your business is not so much nicely packaged, don't go and look for people with very high, background where the daughter, the mother is this, the father is this, they won't stay with the business. So look for people who are looking for opportunities to work. And look for people who have the heart to help others. Look for people like that. Don't look for people who are just looking for just employee and career. Look for people who have the heart to serve. And just don't look for people who are saying that when they are working, they are reading the Bible. No, don't look for those people. Look for people with philosophy, their own values. Look for people who stand for what is true. People will be able to be, dare to even be controversial and disagree. Look for that. Even though it may not be money, our culture is that the people are very nice. People would want to be nice than tell you the truth. You have to know that. We are very nice people. We don't like a lot of disagreement and controversy. So, one piece. Beyond the peace, look for those who will be honest. Because eventually, it's the honesty that will keep the business. It's not the calmness when everything is destroying. They will not even tell you to come out. No, look for the boiling, and beneath the calmness, where are the facts? Because the facts are the ones that you're going to use to make decisions. So you want people who will be straightforward with you, and sometimes it's very difficult for them to be that straightforward, which means that you have to look for what are the things that you have to look for. So if you don't have that, it will be very difficult for you to build a business beyond yourself. It's very difficult to build a business, yourself, especially a brick and mortar kind of business that there's a lot of human interaction. So one of the reasons, so I'm going to recap, one of the reasons they say that businesses collapse in the country, major reason is because of the people who work with us. And that's why sometimes a lot of people with big businesses are very careful bringing in people who have some high level of education who they can train. So most of the high level education kind of people work with multinationals, work with well-established companies. But when you start, you cannot just be well-established like that. It will take time, which means that how do you get some of these educated people to work with you? That is a challenge, And that without quality people working with you too, you don't have any business, because their decisions have direct effect on the growth or the failure of the business, the success or the failure of the business. So number one reason, how do I get good people to work with me? Now, when you decide to get that, you have to also have the discipline to continue to train them, to develop the good work ethics, where they have to be truthful, they have to come on time, they have to give you feedback, as those things that we work with. And you want the facts so that you can make right decisions. These things you must develop in the culture. And if you are not able to do that, then you will sacrifice the future of the business with your health. Sometimes you can have a lot of money, the business is doing well, because there are businesses that are doing well. They just work with their family people, that's all. The son is there, the daughter is there, the husband is there, and that's all. There's no other foreigner anyway. And the business, they are doing well. But what we're saying is that we need businesses that can employ more than that, so that we can be the ones in charge of our economy. So you need to employ more people, and that will go beyond just your family. It goes beyond just you being comfortable. Now you have to extend it, and what are the systems and structures that you have to put in place, and the quality of people? How do you employ them? So you will need extra talent. You need people with talent to grow that business. So if you just think, self, I have to do the business all by myself, you will not have growth, and you will not be able to leverage all the painful things that you have gone through trying to build a business. Because when you see growth, you will be happy with all the mistakes that you made. So the only thing that will compensate for the mistakes will be the growth that you see. When you start to see success, it's like the woman giving birth. When the child comes, they forget a little about the pain. So when you see success, the pain will reduce. But if you don't see success, you always remember the pain. So develop a business culture that you attract the quality. I'm saying that you have to have a lot of patience to try a lot of people and to see the ones that you want. And don't be shocked. Never be shocked when you hear a lot of those things. Don't be disappointed. When you see that they are trying to play games with the money or the product, or they are trying to connect with people, don't be shocked. A lot of them would, if you teach them, a lot of them will sit up well. Because then you have to explain things with them. Because most people would want to get, sometimes when they get money, what are they going to use it for? Build a house, buy a car, that's all. So they can still do those things and be honest. They can be honest and still eventually own those things. They only need big quality information to know that, listen, I can do this house, this cars, I may not be able to do it in a year. I'll be able to do it in 5 years, in 10 years. And they also have to know that you have good heart. Not everybody will see that. But at least those who want to stay with you and those who have good heart to see the business grow, because you need that. Those who have good heart and who want to see the business grow. You have to see that when the business grows too, you're a good person to take care of them. You have to know that. But that's no guarantee that they will not do what they will do. That is no guarantee. And so you have to pay attention all the time to see. You have to pay attention. Sometimes it's very difficult. But you have to take some harsh decisions. Very difficult, where people use so much trust, depending on, you would have to let them go because they were, they'll be doing something that you don't want. And it's very tough, it's heavy. And that's what makes business that tough. The human factor is that crazy. And so don't be disappointed and don't give up If you've been cheated for, if you've been lied to, if you've been taken advantage of, if people have screwed you for 10 years, don't worry, it's part of the training. You still have to work with people anyway. And don't expect 100% accuracy. Don't expect that. You are looking for maybe 20%, 30% accuracy. That one, you will not be shocked. You don't have heart attack, because then you have you have hope, and you know that things will improve, and you're also building your skill. So you have to teach them about being truthful, being honest. You have to teach them about being loyal to the business. You have to teach them. The business is selling it, somebody wants to come and buy it, then they tell them, oh, meet me somewhere, I will give you different. No, you have to make sure that you reduce those things, and you have to make sure that you take good care of them as well. Take good care of them, and you teach them how to be very grateful for the work that they have. The work that they have. But you, as a business owner, you have a lot to learn. Don't forget that. You have so much to learn, because the human character, it changes every day. So you are in this, you're going to learn for your entire life. And you shouldn't be shocked by any of them, their character. All right, you shouldn't be shocked when you see any weird character. You should not be shocked at all. You just say that this is business. I'm still learning. So entrepreneurship business is about continuous learning. It's daily learning. You're always learning. You're always learning. And some of the things that you can never finish learning is the character of the people, because they have power to decide whatever they want to decide. Where do we recruit these people? Minimizing risk is difficult from another country, and both excited and scared and ready for the challenge. Yes, and that makes it beautiful. Be ready, be excited, be scared, but there. Take the decision. Where do you take this? Where do you employ these people? I can tell you that they are everywhere in the economy. Everywhere, from the least educated to the middle educated to highly educated, to the least experienced to the middle experienced to the highly experienced. The scale for me is different from the character. So you're looking for the scale, you're looking for the character as well. But there are things that you have to look for. And I'm sure once the thing is that you have to condition yourself that you're going to go through that. So there will be a lot of disappointment before you are able to build the kind of team that you want. And you should not be shocked. No matter the skill level of the people or the education level of the people, the character is different. Being able to be straightforward with you, to say, this is the money, this is the product, very professional. That one, don't link it to whether they have gone to school or not, or whether they're highly skilled or not. I separate them. I separate them, because character is character. People being straightforward is being straightforward. That is not taught in school. It's one. People, great. Can be. So I think you can have it everywhere. Generally, people are very nice, but you have to teach them things that you want done in that business. Don't overlook that. Don't assume that they will come with it. No. And when they disappoint you, maybe sometimes you can give them a second chance, but then you restrict the access, and see if they will grow. If they don't grow, then you have to let them go. It means that they are in haste to get to where they want to go, so that you can look for that can be very comfortable with the kind of environment, the kind of business that you're building. But there are obvious reasons, there are obvious signs. Some people, you can see this one is so in haste. They talk fast, they talk, they're not straightforward, you can see. So the thing is that you just have to pay attention. You just have to pay attention, because a lot of people have given up on their dream just because of this. Just because people were not truthful to them, they met a lot of disappointment because people's word when they didn't come through. Don't let those things stop you. That's what I'm saying. Never. Keep going. Never let any disappointment, whatever that the person gave you, all, maybe somebody with a big position give you all the worst, gave you, sometimes they even write this letter on it, big, English, and then they didn't come through. Don't be disappointed. Don't be shocked as well. That's what I'm saying. Don't be shocked. Don't be disappointed. When it comes to good work ethics and personal values, you're going to deal with it almost all the time. And if you're able to build, you'll be very happy, because once they get it, you'll be shocked. The same people, you'll be shocked. So there is so much that we have got to learn with this. So once you have the intention to build business, Please be ready for this. The work ethics, you're going to have time to develop it. And sometimes, for the funeral and the party and the church, everybody is ready to help. Everybody is ready to, give in the quota. They will smile with you. They're very helpful. But we are looking at business. And if it's business, they have to have solid work ethics so that the business can grow, because the business is only growing by the input of the people who are working in the business. If they are lazy and if they just work anyhow, then there will not be growth. If the character is not good, there will not be growth. So when it comes to business, you cannot compromise this. It's not debate. How the people work is going to decide whether the business is going to work out or the business is going to fail. So you cannot overlook those things. And some people's approach is that then I'm not going to work with anybody at all. I'm just going to do everything by myself. I'm saying that will mean that it's only you. And if it's only you, there's not much you have for the future, because you don't have to trade your head. You don't have to trade your head for that, because after all the opportunities that we need, we need people to get jobs. We need people to create value, and all yourself, you can create value. No matter how much technology that you use, you still need other brains to come in. Even the people who are developing websites and all those, they still need to work with others. So you get the skill, but look for the character. And to the larger extent, be ready to train. Be ready, and don't be shocked when they don't work, especially those who are coming from outside the culture. Those who are looking to work outside the culture. The way we work is a bit different. So you have to be ready for that, and don't be frustrated, because sometimes the Ghanaians who have lived here, the Africans who have lived here and gone, they have gone somewhere and they've come back. I gave you 3 o'clock. You have not come. You have not called me. Yeah, you meet a lot of those things. I expected you to give me feedback. The invoice is 10. I suppose. I agree. You have to be patient on those things. They told me they were going to call me back 2 o'clock. It's 2:30. They have not called me back. Okay. You have to know that these are things that will frustrate you. If you want them to frustrate you, what I've seen is that they shouldn't frustrate you. Yes, they have direct impact on your business. Yes. So if you want them to call you back 2 o'clock, then you have to find a way to press them so that they call you back 2 o'clock. So you tell them, call me 1 o'clock. Call me 1 o'clock. So even if they delay 2 o'clock, they will eventually make it. So don't be shocked, because they come with a lot of other strengths that you may overlook. They come with a lot of other strengths, especially those that you're able to train well, and treat well. And they respond more to humanity, to treatment, to respect, to love, to engagement, to togetherness. They respect those things more. Respect more. And sometimes if you want people to also work, attach a lot of things to revenue as well, because people will make good decisions when it's attached to money. Don't forget that. If you're able to call me, this is what we add to your salary. If you're able to finish this is out to, if you're able to do those, sometimes you get the attention as well. But you need to teach, constantly teach, and not be frustrated. That's where I think those who are coming would have to get right. That don't be frustrated. You cannot put a lot of frustration on yourself. The way we work is different. So but for me, what is important is they have to tell you it's 2 is 2, it's 3 is 3. 10 people came to work. I want to hear 10 people came to work. I don't want my supervisor to tell me 3 people came to work and it's 1 person. And you have to build that culture where they're able to be straightforward with you and to be open. And sometimes you build that, and if you're not getting that, change the team until you get that. You look for that, because with that, then you can do a lot. Without that, everything, even though you have a lot of people working with you now, everything will still be dependent on you, because they will still be waiting for you, because you've not developed them to work as you want them to work. So my name is Obedako. I'm talking about you don't just have to work as an employee. As self-employed, you have to build the business to a point where you're able to employ people. And in that case, you have to deal with your own biases, your own ideas that sometimes may cripple you, may limit you. And part of it is being open for others to get on board and being in a position to give people a chance to prove themselves and, be patient with them as well. You have to be patient with people. They may not work. They may not work as you want them to work, but sometimes they will even get the results. So how do you decide that? Based on the culture, based on your business, based on your personality, how you work. You have to find a way to design that as well. You have to find a way. If you don't do that, you'll be so much disappointed. And that's why sometimes you meet people say, I was in Ghana, I was trying to build a business, and the people, I eventually had to pack and go back. Because you're not patient. And so that's why a lot of things you take gradually. You don't just give you have met the person and just give everything to the person. Okay, they will come and tell you that they lost the money. And it may not be true. So you have to prove that you have to test people with money. And every now and then, a lot of them will fail. And you should not be shocked. You should not be shocked. So if they fail you, don't be shocked. Just find a way to regather and find out other people can. You have to constantly do that. And that's how you build business. So if you can't do that, then you don't have any business. That's why a lot of people who are very intelligent don't have people to work for them because they give up quickly because they want everybody to work as they work. So these are the things that you have to put in place. So I will be, yes, I've shared some things. We'll break up and then maybe so you need that instill in them how to be just straightforward. Instill them how to work together and to know that decisions are going to affect the business. And if the business succeeds, it succeeds for all of us. And people, when they are working together, are thinking, I'm going to build money. They have that kind of thinking as well. Don't worry. You also meet those who want to work with you. And be very thankful. It's always look for that. I don't know how. And when you get good people, find a way to keep them. I don't know how, but you will know. Depending on the situation, you will know how you would have to find good people to work with you. You have to find that. Because there are other things that they think about all the time. There are a lot of things that they hear from their family. Sometimes the family, they're calling them to come for funeral. They're calling them to go for this program. They call it sometimes. So the culture, but business does not care about the general culture. If you're going for funeral, the business has to be done anyway. So how do you get them to see that if they play with the business will suffer? You need to get them to think like that, without becoming a so-called taskmaster. Said that, but some of them can easily give up because they think that you are stretching them too much. So you have to do some of those things gradually. And when they quit easily, don't worry. Sometimes it has nothing to do with you. A lot of the times they have nothing to do with you. So but again, so develop a business so that you will be able to, because your business is going to grow. Just that you're able to work with a lot of people. So if you don't build that, then you will be very you find it very difficult to grow the business, just as I said. So, and that's how you build a business that you become very much fulfilled when the business is no more. Some people build business now, the business is destroying their life. Why? Because everything they have to do it. So they have no time to sleep, no time to rest, no time to do any other thing. Everything is coming to them because they don't have the ability to develop others, to trust others, to take other part of the responsibilities of the business. And it all starts with the way they think and the way they see things. So you will need others to work with you, and you have to find a way to treat them well. And if you don't have others work with you, then it will be very difficult. And until you have others work with you, you don't have the business. Don't forget that. Because look at the list of the people who are very wealthy, business people who are very wealthy. Look at how many people they employ. They employ thousands. The ability to build structures to employ more. Those are the things that have made them wealthy. Look at the top 10 businesses around the world and see how many employees they have. Or look at the top 100 people they say are very rich in Africa. Go and look. Their businesses employ millions or thousands. And so the wealth has a lot to do with the number of people you employ, directly or indirectly. They have a lot, so okay, employee retention is one of the largest line item from. Yes, how do you keep them? How do you keep them? That's a lot. There's a lot of things that we go through in our country with that, but you still have to master. If it's a lot. So, but it's a skill that we all have to develop. Because you have to understand how the people work, and you have to know that if they do something that you're not happy with, you voice them out, but you still have to train them and never be caught unguarded. You should always know that this thing can happen. You should know. So when they happen, you don't give up. You just have to, you unlock so that you can correct it. You can correct it. You should never be shocked when you find out that the guy didn't declare everything. You shouldn't be shocked. That when they were lying, you should not be shocked. So these are things that we are dealing with. So we are not shocked here. If you come, don't be shocked. Don't be shocked. You still have to go through that to pick the best of the team and to develop and to work with. And don't do a lot of comparison to say that, in this country it's not like that. In this country it's not like that. In this, don't come and say that. This is Ghana, this is our culture. This is how we pick the people, because we work with them. As a matter of fact, we work with them. We have places that they work that we don't even go there, but they work. How did we do that? Those are the things that I'm sharing with you. And yes, most people don't want that at all. They will be there. They will not, not even try. How do we do that? Is what I've shared. Is what making sure that you build a culture where they know that they can be responsible. You help them to think straight. And that means that you have to help them with a lot of teachings on how to work, how to be honest, how to be straightforward. And I'm saying that after teaching all this, if you get 10%, you have done good work. So that you don't, you give yourself a lot of patience. You have to be very patient for them to develop. So when we pick somebody, we training for, before somebody handles the business, the person would have trained for maybe a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, sometimes 6 months, depending on the person's ability to handle some of this. Because you're looking for something, you're looking for somebody who is straightforward, who can work without complaints. You're looking for that. Somebody who has that sense of ownership, sense of, I'm part of this. He wants to own it. You're not looking for somebody who will meet you and be very nice, and when you're not there, they're doing what they want. But in spite of all this, you still have to have the oversight. You still have to go around, look, check. You have to. You say, do you trust us? No, I trust you. That's what I'm checking. So you check. And you have to be involved. You monitor, get records, engage. You're getting feedback all the time. You gather data, and so you make a lot of decisions. Gather data, get the sales, get the information. You always have to do that. 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 You always, because that's how you're going to build. Yes, Ruth, yeah, hello. Yes. Welcome. So you have to do that. And that's why most people give up, because they don't put these things in place. They just think that that's all it is. No, that's not what it is. There's a lot that you have to put in place for you to work with people, especially even sometimes, even if it's remote. you're looking for that. And you have to make sure that they think straight forward. They think straight. Because sometimes the things that people focus on, a lot of them are very funny. So you have to break. So you go beyond just training on the work. Now you have to bring in even life training itself so that they can get things right. Because if people don't understand life itself, it's very difficult for them to understand why they should work with some kind of credibility. Then if they don't understand work, they think that, they might even value the work or value the job because they have wrong understanding of life. So for instance, if I'm waiting that, tomorrow I'll get America and everything will change, then I will not value the work that I'm doing now. If I'm looking for someone to come and marry me, then everything will change. If I'm thinking like that, I will not be serious with the work that I have. If I think that, I can just, take somebody's money and just do anything that I want and nothing will happen, then I will just do anything that I want. But if they're able to have their own values and, and try to, live by them, they will extend the same thing to the business. Will extend the same to the business. And you are looking for some people with some level of confidence as well, and some level of clarity in terms of the way they think. And if they don't come with that, you probably would have to help them to think like that. And sometimes it's independent of the level of education. Sometimes it's independent of the level of education. Especially when they think that they want to go to America or England. That's another danger. They are not thinking straight because they will not value the work, because they think that if they go to America or they go to England, they'll be successful. They think like that. Now, somebody has to reprogram their mind to say that, no, you will be successful when you have good work ethics, when you are trustworthy, when people can take your word for it. So you prove that. And wherever you are, if you work with it, you'll be successful. If you get them to think like that, sometimes it's very tough for you to get them to think like that. But if you're eventually able to get them to think like that, a lot of good things will come to you when you're straightforward. They have to just know that, because then people start to take your word. If you say it's yellow, it's yellow. If you say it's green, it's green. So when somebody wants to even give you something, for instance, business, when somebody wants to give you something, they will give you. No, sometimes they're demanding the payment because they think that if the thing comes to you before, you will pay. But with time, when they see that you have values, you're straightforward, they will give you the things and even continue to give you, because they know that when you say yes, yes, no, no. And those are the benefits that they will get if they also practice that. So these are things. There is more to gain when you hold on to these things, than when you practice the other side. And you need people to think this way. And once able to get those things taught out rightly, then you see that when they work, that's the way I see it. When you see people who have been able to solve a lot of these misconceptions, on their minds, if they're able to solve them rightly, when they work, they take the work seriously, because then they are mature. They understand the basic things of life, and that's you as a business person. You have to do that, so that at least when you leave something with them, because they have been able to sort those things out, they will be straightforward with you, and then you can depend on them. Then you can focus on other things. And if you're able to get 10 of them, you have a good business. You have a good business. And if you get 100 of them, you have a good business. So businesses, yes, but until you're able to build the so-called systems, you would have to depend on them. And as a matter of fact, the people are really the structures. People are really the system that you're looking for. Because if you get good people, your business will just spark and grow with less, stress. With less stress, because then you have people you can depend on. You have a team that you trust. You have a team that will cover. So there is an emergency, somebody has to go there and correct it 12 a.m. You know that somebody will go there because they know the value of how their lives will change by the way they work. So they don't say that today is Friday, 6 o'clock, they put off their phone, nobody can call them. If you have people like that working with you, you have no business. You have to beg them to go and do something for you, you have no business. And you're going to go through such people before you get the best of the team. When they come, the only reason they came to work is so that you can pay them at the end of the month. You're not getting much, but they just show up for the salary. You want to reduce those people. You want to have very few of those people. By all means, you have them. No matter what you do, you have people who work with you who just show up because of the money. They don't want to bring any resource. They don't even want to care. If they don't sell anything, they still think that they deserve their salary. If they don't sell anything, they still think that they deserve their salary. If you get people like that, you have no business. And that's why most people say that I don't want any trouble at all, then I won't employ anybody. But you have to be able to build a team if you want to build a business that will create wealth. You have to build a team, and you have to learn how to work with people and employ and pay them salary. And the more of these people that you have, the more successful your business will become. Because success of most businesses is in the workforce. Because there's no way, let's say you're doing 10,000 today, there's no way you're going to do 1 million. If you don't have a lot of hands on board. That's a fact. If you don't have other people coming in to support you, and it's only you, it will be very difficult. So let's say you're doing 1 million all by yourself. There's no way you're going to do 100 million all alone. You will need to work with others. Even if you're going to try, you'll be so much exhausted that you'll give up to kill you. But when you're able to position people and train them, condition them, and let them work and share the glory with them as well. Share the glory with them. Marjo. And share the glory with them. Then you have a business. So you have to have that openness of mind. So most technical people don't have that. Most engineers don't have that. Most doctors don't have that. Most lawyers don't see the value. You have to shift that, because the success of your business is going to do. It has a lot to do with that, where you're able to reproduce yourself in others. They work like you, they talk like you, they think like the culture is so strong that the culture is what is bringing the results. So you build a strong culture. Is it possible to enter into a partnership from abroad? I think it depends on the industry that you want to enter, and it depends on the people that you need. And it depends on the kind of business that you want to build. So maybe some people are doing it, but if you're a business person, if you're not a business person, and they will probably say, bring your money. I am not for that. I think that if you want to grow your money, is different, But if you want to build a business, then I think you should one way or the other be engaged in the business. Because sometimes the people will lose the money, not because they're bad people, just because business is tough, and sometimes the decisions that they are making may not be so much right. So it depends on the industry that you want to go into, but it's possible, I'm sure. But you really have to do a lot of work and get involved and know. Let's say you want to enter into properties, for instance, you have to know the people you are giving the money to. You have to be involved. The quality of the decisions that you're making will either keep the money or lose it. Maybe it's farming. You have to know what decisions are they making, what negotiations are they, engaging. Those things sometimes beyond the character is also skill. They require skill for the work. So possible, but you have to really get the right people who understand the game and who have the right character, in whichever industry, so that you don't lose. You want somebody who wants to share, not somebody who is just looking for money for themselves. Somebody who is ready to value the partnership that you're bringing. It's not just money. The value that you bring, the expertise that you bring, the quality of decision-making ability that you bring is so much important. The work ethics that you bring will also affect the business, whether it's going to succeed or it's going to fail. So there's a lot, and you really have to know the kind of people who have these qualities. You look for that, because the business is not just going to do well. The success of the business is purely the quality of the people behind the business. So there's no chance. Do they have stamina? So there's a lot that you look out for. So we need people to think like that. We need a lot of our people to be involved, get involved, especially in the retail, especially those who are selling this processed food and what they call is grocery or something. Those that can build multiple channels in our country. We need Africans to be involved. We need a lot of our people would have to do that. So we need people with expertise to get into this. The mining sector, the property sector, the energy, the agriculture, the commercial farming, the fashion industries. We need our people to get involved. And so if you just think only of ourselves, if you're only thinking of ourselves, it will be very difficult. If you're only thinking of ourselves, now I have 1 million, that's all I want to do. I want to go and enjoy. I don't think Africans should enjoy now. I think Africans should make sure that Africa is prosperous and developing. We have a lot of opportunities for our people. We must be the ones thinking like this. We have to be the ones producing a lot, going into manufacturing, into processing. And if you go into manufacturing, you can't be alone. If you go into processing, if you're building a processing plant, you must have the ability to manage people. That's a fact. And build structures where they work and give their best for the development of our country and of our continent. So we are not looking for people who are just thinking for their comfort. No, we are looking for people who have higher sense of mission to say, how do we move from this being self-employed to employ 1,000, to employing 2,000, to employing 500, to employing 50, to employing 20. We need people to think like that. Because that's why we are creating opportunities. That's why we are building skills. That's why we are transferring skills. So we need people to think like that. We are not looking for people who just want to make money for themselves and be very happy. That one is good, but no, that's not what we need. What we need is that people will target industries and build strong businesses there. And if you want to do that, it cannot be just you being self-employed. We need people to what is it? We need people to think like that. So my name is Kwabena. We are talking about how do we move from being self-employed to building businesses. And we are saying that it starts with the way we think. We have to know that business is a group game, and your ability to manage people is so critical. And if you cannot manage people, then very difficult for you to build a business beyond yourself. And the way the one who is managing people thinks is so different from the one who is very much interested in building a business where they alone are, in charge, where they take every decision. Nobody is responsible for anything. That kind of thinking is so different from the one who's trying to build business, which employs people. And what we need here, more than any other, is people who are trying to build business that can employ a lot of people. I'm saying that every industry is ready for that. The only thing is that when you go, yes, I think that food, preservation, yes, that's the processing. Yes, there's a lot in between that great value chain. There's a lot food processing, from tomato to cassava to plantain, to everybody, to everything that has to be. The point is that should you not be the ones who are in charge of our food? Why should any part of our food even be imported? But if you don't have people who have the skill to build beyond self, then by always you have people who who will bring them just for the benefit. So you have a lot of other people trying to bring this food, and if somebody controls your food, they control your age. If they control the food that they feed you with, let's face it. So we should be the ones to do that. And people with expertise should go into this. And it's almost like it has to be a calling. It has to be something that we must do. And we have to do it for the sake of the next generation. We have to do that. And we cannot continue to think of of our comfort. We can't do everything, but whatever that we can do will bring significant change. And a lot of people will start to look up to that. So we need a lot of our people. We need a lot of our people. Yes, you see, so we need that. So if you have interest in that, any industry that you have interest in, let's say you build a cold room, you employ people there, you save the farmers from losing their produce. You pay them, they can produce more. So we need that. Now, when you come and you meet all of the things that we talk about, don't be frustrated. You're building. So when people start to screw you, lie to you, don't worry about that. You are learning. But eventually, you will get to you building that business that you want to build. Eventually, because then you have you have much patience for it, because you know that these things will come. But then you want to build something beyond yourself. You're not looking for comfort. You're not looking for this. Africans should not be looking for comfort. And that's my thing. We should not be looking for comfort. We should be looking at how do we build our continent. In terms of industry, everywhere. How do we build the banks? How do we build the processing plants? How do we build in every field? How do we be the ones in charge? How do we build all these multiple shops across the board? How the wholesalers, build your own television stations, build your own radio stations, be the ones educating the people. What do you, let's say you build a school, you can at least teach them what you want to teach, at least informally, you can teach. There are things that that you would want people to know. Let's say you build a school, you'll be able to teach, change your whole generation's way of thinking, just because you've been able to build a school. So whatever, maybe you want to build a hospital, it's the same. You want to bring the best practices in the hospital. You want to build a cocoa farm. You want to build a tomato farm. What type of industry is there in Ghana for solar? Taking class in installation and production now. Yes, so solar, for instance, some people have some solar, but there's a big industry. I think people who build their houses, the residential ones, I think the challenge may be the price. So if you're able to build quality with a little price difference, you may be able to do that. But I see that people are building solar plants as well. There was a time that I was dealing with this German guy who was into that as well. So solar, for instance, is a huge thing. And there is another side where people can build their solar farm or something and feed it back to the grid, and they will pay them. I remember they had a scheme like that. I'm not sure if that is what you want to do. And if that is what you want to do, you can get to the Ministry of Energy's website or Electricity Company of Ghana website. You will see a lot of the things that they have there. But solar is a big industry. So in industry, Africa, everywhere in Africa, every industry. The fact is that we need our people to be giants in every industry. Every industry. But it has to start with the way we think, that we want to build big. It cannot be just myself, small business owner, myself. You make thousands, you're very happy. We are looking for people who want to make more and employ more and create opportunities, because we need to employ our youth. We need to give opportunities to people. We need to create a lot of prosperity. We need to teach some of the others how to work with people. We need a lot of knowledge transfer, so that we can move from just the small ones to big businesses, professionally managed and run. So we are the ones to see and to think like that. We are the ones to see and to think like that. To say that if nothing at all, in the next 50 years, the next generation will have big leverage, better than the ones that we are having. So we are the ones to do this. And so the character of the workers should not let you stop. That's what I'm saying. And it's not even the character of workers alone. The character of people who run institutions on our continent should not stop you. So when you go anywhere and they are trying to frustrate you and do all those, don't be frustrated. Just keep your values, keep fighting. Eventually they give up. You have what you want, so I'm saying that never be shocked by those. Just stay put, stand firm. You eventually get those people to work with you. You eventually find somebody who believes in what you believe in. So I'm saying that the number one reason companies are not run well or fail a lot of the times, the workers, the people you work with. And that's why most people will stay small, because they don't want that trouble. It's the most difficult aspect of business. The people, how you manage them, it's very difficult. It's very tough, because they come with all kind of mindset, and you want them to be straightforward. You want them to be loyal to the business. You want them to be hardworking. And these things, you must develop the culture there, so that the culture will then push them to do those. So you cannot build a business beyond. You cannot build a big business if it's only you working in the business. So you have to settle that in our mind, which means that we have to go beyond just myself and doing something for myself. We need people to create opportunities, which means we must employ. And we are saying that, look around all the big businesses that you see, they have huge numbers of people who work with them. That's why they're huge. So you can't call a business huge when you're the only employee. So we have to look at, how do I get to the numbers? How do I get to the 10, the 20, the 50? And there is a lot of challenge. There are a lot of challenges that you're going to face in you trying to do that. But never quit, never give up, because those are things that you have to overcome. Or you trade your time, your energy to keep that small business, but eventually you lose it, because then eventually you run out of time, So, so you have to build that skill where others can come on board. And that, we are saying, it takes a lot of patience, it takes a lot of time to be able to grow that. And you should not be shocked when people misbehave, people are tricking you, or people are, they want to be funny. Those things should not shock you at all, because you will eventually build a team of people that you can depend on, and if you build, you always have to, make sure you cut those that are not right, so that the other ones can germinate well. So be open-minded and make sure that you build a business beyond yourself and just you employing only your family people. You build a business beyond yourself and only your family people. And the next one is and that's why you build a business that makes you very happy. Okay. Yes, the energy alone is a big deterrent. Yes, but we have constant energy, and we have had constant energy for the last 4 years, almost. When the current government took over, I think they were able to solve it. The problem was not that we didn't have electricity. The problem was that the other government was not paying. So those people who came and they saw it as a critical need. But I think you can also look at how you can use your own, build your own forms of energy. I mean, there are other things that they use to fire or to fuel these kind of industries, and it depends on the plant that you are building. But it's a huge gap. Food preservation, food processing industry, being able to add, extend the shelf life of these food products. It's a huge area. Some people. So if you know anything about it, you can look. Sometimes you may not even want to enter agri. Yes, many people are producing. So how do I fill that gap? How do I get them market and make sure that the food that they're producing don't go waste? It's a huge place that can take a lot of people. And so if you want that, and I think majority of our people should build those. So money size is there. Maybe you have expertise or interest in that. Come and explore. And it's open. You just have to go through the things that everybody else would have to go through, but never quit because of the character of people that you meet trying to build your business, whether it's employee or officials or friends, anything, never quit. So that's why you have to understand the industry before you pump a lot of money in. And if you're partner, if you're giving money to people, just make sure that at least you're very, at least a little sure. Other than that, then give it in better pieces and let's see if they are credible. You always have to look at that. So because it's business, once the money is gone, it's gone. To get it back becomes difficult. So because these are the things that have made people not grow beyond themselves because of the character of people. the way that they have been treated by others. The way they have been treated by others. Sometimes they get exhausted. So you go to Makola, you see them, woman, she has a lot of money, but she has no employee. She doesn't believe anybody. It's okay. But I think we have passed that, where we need to build, we need to use structures and systems to build and create opportunities, employment opportunities for our people, which means that we need people who can think differently and think big. And the industries are all over. They're open. You meet challenges, but they're open. There are so many of them that are open. So I want to say thank you very much for watching, and share the channel with your friends and family, and those of us who want to build businesses in Africa. These are some of the things that we go through all the time, but we do them with fun. Sometimes we get angry, but it's okay. There's no way perfect. We are none of them. We are still learning. We are still evolving as a people, as a continent. So your expectation of how we work, your expectation of our character, you have to be moderate with us, and you shouldn't be shocked. And it doesn't matter the position or the education level or the skill level. You just have to know that we are all going through that and we're learning. All right. And so when you're dealing with us, know that it's something that we are all evolving. So give us big measurements, expect much quality from us, but don't be shocked. But the goal is to build a business that you can employ people. So never lose focus of what you want to do, and nothing should stop you from getting to the goals. Nothing should stop you from getting to the goals. Thank you, the genuine givers. Yes, so because those are the things that we do. We do this, and sometimes I can say sometimes you don't expect that, and I've seen a lot of people give up because of this. They come, have energy, and they encounter the employee, the people, the petty stories, the character shocks, and then they give up. Those are not supposed to make you give up. Those are supposed to make you strong, better skilled, better informed, so that you can reposition and structure well and do more. These things should not, because the fact is that when the Chinese come, they meet them, they don't give up. They re-strategize. The Europeans, they don't give up. They re-strategize. All the others, they don't give up. The Lebanese, the Indians, they don't give up. They actually have models where they know that maybe 30% is going to go this. So if I don't get the 30%, it's okay. When we come and meet those, then we want to cry. We want to make it a special case. It's not special case. You just don't understand the situation. So we must give ourselves time. We must be patient. We must know that we are the ones to do this. And therefore, when you see them, you should not be shocked. You should be very much giving yourself very long, so that you have the stamina to keep going and you have the patience to keep going. Never be shocked. And you can build teams that you can depend on. That one I can show you, because we have done it. Yes, it needs correction all the time. Every now and then you have to make some little adjustments, but you do that. Every now and then you make some little adjustment, but you have to be very positive, very optimistic, and you have to trust the people. You have to respect the people, and you have to give them the opportunity to try and to prove themselves. These are the things that you have to do. These are the things that you have to do, and you have to look. South Africa, I'm with you on that. Renewable sources are the key moving forward. Okay, yes, it's true. So never be shocked when the boss disappoints you. Never be shocked. Just know that we are all in the same situation, and we are building our continent together. So don't give up on those you think are responsible. Nobody is an owner. is the owner of the continent. It's for us. Nobody is the owner of is the owner of Ghana. Ghana is for all of us. Africa is for all of us. So when you come, don't give up. Say that I came and tried. They didn't give me. Who should? It's our duty. So let's all push. Let's all push and let's all give opportunities to our people. So thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Woodgirl. Thank you, Africa Vision X. Thank you, V Cooper 50. Thank you, everybody who took their time to watch this. I thank you very much. I appreciate it. And Mary C. J. Thank you, Sylvester Atambona. Thank you, Nana Kwame. Thank you, Okwan. Thank you, Chairman Frederick. So I want to thank you very much. And if you have some topics that you want us to share, you can send me WhatsApp. You can send me email as well. And please share the channel with the people who would love to know this. Thank you very much. So may that's good night. Thank you very much.